everybody, and welcome to Coping with Donald on Tuesday, August 12th, 2025. I haven't done any Coping with Donalds lately because it's been most of the same old, same old. So I added up a few things, a few odds and ends that you might be interested in. I'm not going to talk much about Washington, D.C. or the Epstein case. I think you're getting a full dose of everything from other people based on that. Donald Trump continues to act like a deranged mafia boss. And anybody who knows me knows that in general, I've always hated mafia movies. Mostly because of deranged mafia bosses, and now we have one running the country, so it's really hard to actually cope with. But I want to mention a few things. One thing that he did that was even more mafioso than usual was he threatened today on his Twitter to X, whatever, Truth Social, to file a lawsuit against Jerome Powell for the costs of the new Federal Reserve building that was needed. And that's very mafia-like. You know, just like he wants Brazil to, he'll lower their tariffs if they let his grift buddy Bolsonaro go, his grift authoritarian buddy, and not be punished in the legal system. Just like this. If Powell quits, then he'll probably drop the lawsuit, stuff like that. He always shows an action that he wants to take, totally unrelated to what it normally would be used for. It's only being used to meet his ends that he desires. That's what Trump wants. And that's what I just detest probably the most about him, because I think it's the general overall characteristic of Donald Trump. The bullying, the forcing people due to his money or whatever, his power, to bend the knee and do what he wants and kiss his shoes and all that. Except most mafia bosses are kind of smart. Donald Trump is not very smart, and that's what makes him even more dangerous. So, sorry, Jerome Powell, please stay on for most of us who want some beacon of normalcy and some beacon of resisting Trump to look up to. Powell, at the same time, I think in September, should drop interest rates by 0.25%. I don't know if I'm going to ever believe Donald Trump's figures. I don't know if I believe his inflation numbers from today, since he just basically fired somebody very important the other week for the unemployment numbers and hinted that if you want to have a job doing this, I'll dictate the numbers to you. Please remember that these numbers on inflation determine federal policy, or they should, okay? And it also is used as an inflation. Some people get their wages basically tied to inflation. Most company presidents, especially small places, if inflation is low, they won't give anybody really a raise. However, at the same time, if Donald Trump says it's low and it's really not, then these people are going to be more and more in trouble. Social Security ties what they pay you to the inflation rate for the year. These numbers need to be accurate for those reasons. And we know Donald Trump will lie about anything. Gas is under $2 a gallon. Grocery prices are so much lower than when he took office. People in Springfield, the Haitians, they eat the dogs and cats. There haven't been any illegal immigrants crossing the border. Zero in the last 2 months. He said that. I don't know if that was just like taking a license on numbers, you know, and kind of, it was close to zero. Or literally he thinks it was zero. Um, his tariff numbers. I'm going to tariff you 50%. No, let's make it 45%. Oh, if you kiss my butt, it'll be 35%. You know, every day. He doesn't like numbers. He makes them up. He just said recently that his approval rating nationally is 71%. I don't even think it's 71% in Martin County, and this is a very Republican area that I live in. Another thing about numbers that Donald Trump doesn't seem to care about is to realize that if foreign countries don't trust the numbers, they're not going to want to invest in the United States. And that's something he wants them to do, is invest in the United States. I mean, again, I think everybody is just doing the, what would it be? WOTTA? Waiting on Trump to expire. WOTTE. What? Or WATA? Wate. Wati. Apple. Oh yeah, Apple. Tim Apple. He gave me this gold thing, and he promised $600 billion in investments. Apple, if what they made last year was multiplied by 10, that's less than $600 billion. Okay? Apple would basically be telling Trump, every penny that we make for the next 10 years, we're going to put it into investment and have a profit of zero. Do you really think there's a company that would do that? I don't. It's WATA. WATA. What do you mean? I mean waiting on Trump to expire. He just doesn't understand numbers, which is probably why he went bankrupt so many times. I remember a time when Americans in the stock market, on the stock market channels, they would complain about Chinese companies. We can't trust them. We don't think they tell the truth on their reports. We don't trust the Chinese companies. Why would anybody trust anything Trump says when we know that he's the biggest liar on the face of the earth? So today, yesterday, when he federalizes the Washington, D.C. police, which he's allowed to do, by the way, to protect his golden palace, while also saying that most people in Washington, D.C. are scum. That's why he has to do it. We're going to get rid of the scum. We're going to get rid of all the scummy people, a.k.a. people who can't really afford a place in Washington, which is just about everybody in the country can't afford a place in Washington, D.C. And he is going to get them out of there. To what? Tent cities? He's claiming land around military bases, expanding the domain of the military. Is that where he's going to put the tent cities? Are they going to bring food in there? I mean, real food, not with maggots, not like alligator, Alcatraz. Yeah, we're going to give them doctors. We're going to take such good care of them in their tent. Thank you for your attention to this matter, which is so ridiculous. He ends every tweet with that. But it's about tense, so tense attention. Okay. So he is allowed to do that, but basically it seems like he is setting up a future where he's going to kind of do that in every city. Where are you going to put all these people? Jesus! Are you just not going to count them anymore in the census or in... Are you going to disappear them? God help us. And he said that he gave them a warning. I told the homeless, get out of Washington, D.C. Like, yeah, like they have the money to get a bus ticket and get out, and they have some place to go. They'll just wind up being homeless somewhere else because he doesn't care about what happens to the homeless or the financially disadvantaged. He just wants them out of his sight. And he's starting with Washington, D.C., so he can pretend in his gold palace that everything's golden. And he's the Aladdin, or whatever he's going to be. The Shah. So that's what we're facing, and that is a dangerous road to go down, guys. The thing is, the more that we just accept it and go, yeah, all right, we'll take care of it later, the more it'll get set into what is thought of as normalcy in America. And that's another one of the real dangers. Finally, the last thing I have to talk about is that NVIDIA and AMD, chip makers. So earlier in the year, Trump says, you make an inferior chip that you sell to China because you're not allowed to sell better technology to China. Well, we don't want you to sell those chips either. Now they've got all these chips they have to write off their balance sheet. Then Trump keeps meeting with NVIDIA. And finally he says, all right, you know what? We'll let you sell the chips to China, but you, NVIDIA, and you, AMD, Advanced Micro Devices, you have to pay us 15% of the sales. A sales tax on the company. Because remember, this stuff's going to China. I don't think they're going to get the money from China. There are actually some pros to this. Number one, both companies get what would be a useless product and get some money for it anyway. At, I guess you would say, a fire sale because it's minus 15%. It's good for the government. It's good for the coffers. It's good for our treasury. And also remember, business is always getting tax cuts and things like that. So it's good to get some more money from businesses since we're going to be paying the other tariffs. But the con, not con as in grift, the con is that no matter how you look at it, it's a shakedown. No, you can't sell them. All right, we'll let you sell them, but you have to give us 15% of the money. Looks like a big setup for a con. And basically also, I don't consider, I pay money, I pay income tax every year. Do I think that that money is going to the government? Not anymore. I think it probably buys a meme coin of some type, Doge coins or something, and then Trump sells them to someone else. I don't know. I don't trust this man. I don't trust this man not to take money directly out of the treasury. And that's okay if you do, because you're probably right. And I'm probably just mad. On that one, I think I'm just angry. I don't think Trump goes in there and does that, but I do think he sells his own meme coins to people. And then they get his ear. Like he's going to have another meeting, I think, later this week and sell meme coins to people who then can talk to him and tell him what they want. That's always dangerous. This has been Coping with Donald. Geez, I hope you guys can cope with him. I haven't been coping with him. But I want you guys to have a terrific week.